Today marks 4 years since the UK left the European Union in 2020. So, with the benefit of hindsight, what do people make of the UK's position of independence 4 years on? To find out, GBNews has spoken with those from all sides of the political spectrum to see if they feel Brexit has been a success or whether it has left Britain broken. First off, the man who can perhaps take more responsibility for the UK's current state of independence than anyone, Nigel Farage, who led the rallying cry for the Leave campaign during the 2016 referendum. Speaking today, Nigel said,
"And if we look at what's happening across the European Union right now, well, it's a basket case. I mean, they're at each other's throats on migration. We've got Euroscepticism growing across the whole of Europe, and some really pretty extreme parties of right and left doing well. Are we better off out? Undoubtedly. For those that cast doubt on the economics of it, well, of course there are some inconveniences. When you change things, there always are."
To take a look at the economics, GB News' economics and business editor, Liam Halligan, broke down the UK's current situation compared to the rest of Europe since 2020, amid turbulent geopolitics and a global pandemic.
Let's have a look at GDP growth, and you'll see there, this is growth in the economy, all goods and services in the economy, since 2016 to 2022, the last year for which full figures are available. And it's the cumulative growth, all the growth added up. And you'll see Italy on the left there, they've grown at about 6%. You'll see that we've got France, 8%, Germany, 8%, UK, a little bit more, around 9%, Spain just over 10%, and the mighty US getting on for 14% with their much, much cheaper energy. So it's not true to say that since we voted in the referendum that growth has lagged behind in the UK. We're roughly middle of the pack. Yeah. Exports to the EU are actually at a record high now. 2019, the year before the withdrawal agreement, £298 billion of exports from the UK to the EU. 2022, £340 billion. Now, some of that increase is because of inflation, that 14% rise. But in volume terms, too, our exports to the EU are at record highs. Just to give a little caveat, a lot of the reason our exports to the EU have gone up in 2022 so much is that we're importing a lot of liquefied natural gas from the US, which is very valuable. We've got the facilities, the docking stations, the harbours to do that. Yeah. We then re-export some of that to the EU. So those figures are, people will be screaming at the TV who don't like Brexit. I'm being as even-handed as I can possibly be.
So given what appears to be a positive economic position compared to those countries still in the EU, why is the UK left in a position where many feel worse off? Nigel Farage gave his take, saying,
"But what we can say with some certainty is that the Conservative Party that took office with an 80-seat majority in 2019, the party as a whole didn't believe in Brexit. They never understood it. They viewed it as a damage limitation exercise rather than an opportunity. And they have done precious little over the course of the last 4 years to move us away from European Union rules, to make life easier for men and women running small businesses in this country. And on the really big one of controlling our borders and reducing immigration, which is why we had the huge turnout in 2016, it has been a complete and utter breach of trust and faith."
The debate created a stir on GB News' Breakfast, where former UKIP Deputy Chair Suzanne Evans and former Labour MP Dennis McShane came to blows over the situation since 2020.
Certainly in terms of the money, we're certainly not sending anything like as much money to the European Union. We're still making a small contribution, but it's 85% less. So that's certainly something that's very good.
Rishi Sunak's had to import 962,000 immigrants from India, Pakistan, Nigeria principally, to replace all the Europeans who were part of our broad European culture who we booted out. It's been quite good news for passport makers. We now have our black passport with gold embossed symbols of Britain on the front. They're made in Poland, they were designed in France, and the gold embossed symbols wear off after a year or two. I accept fully 37% of the British British electorate, 37% of the registered electorate, voted to leave Europe in 2016. I accept that decision, but to say that it was a great triumph for democracy when the majority of British voters did not vote for it is a little bit playing with the truth.
So, I mean, sorry, but Dennis is talking absolute rubbish here.
Here we go. Insults.
What EU citizens did we boot out, Dennis? We didn't boot any out. As you know, there was a long transition period in which we offered citizenship to any EU national who was already here. It's just crazy what you're saying. Businesses certainly can benefit from reduced regulation.
Finally, GB News spoke with members of the public in Lincolnshire to get their views on how the UK has fared since leaving the EU.
I don't feel nothing's really changed, to be fair. I mean, we all got told a load of twaddle. It's a shame Boris has gone, because he was the one who started the ball rolling, and I think if he hadn't got kicked, we might have got better.
I don't think there's been any great change, to be honest. Not to the common person on the street. No, prices have maybe gone up, but they maybe would have done anyway with the after the COVID pandemic and all that type of thing. I did vote to leave. I feel that we should be an independent country like we used to be. I know we're not the power we used to be, but definitely not put so much money into Europe and the other countries coming into the common market and that type of thing.
And do you regret that decision now?
No, not at all.
I don't think it's gone on very well, actually, in my opinion. I don't think we should have joined it. And I should be delighted if they voted to come off it and let us stand, as we are, a great country.
It hasn't gone well at all.
I don't think. I never voted for it anyway. I always think about the younger people who were cut off from the rest of the EU. I could go over there and go to different universities and meet different people, and it didn't happen, did it?
I don't regret it. I was a leaver, and I remain that. We should be independent and stand on our own feet, but unfortunately, no one in government has got the guts to stand up and do what the people want.